What's up and welcome back. I'm John Stark. They they will call me Gandalf one day though. From BackTheMovieGuy.com, and I'm your favorite blind film critic. This is The Rings of Power, Season 2, Episode 8, the season finale of Rings of Power. Ooh. Sent a chill through the room, through your spine. This show has had audio description all season long that I've been really pretty happy with across the board. I haven't found too many instances where I was like, what? You know, like they say something, I'm just like, excuse me? Like, no, that hasn't happened. Like every once in a while, I'm like, I could probably use a little bit more, but then there's also, when I talk about audio description, sometimes I just don't go into depth with it because I hear where the breaks are and I hear what I got, and it's like sometimes that's really all they can do, like because of where dialogue is, there's really only just so much you can do where you can put things, and it's all about how you use the time that's given, those breaks, those little breaks. Anyway, so I think Rings of Power overall has had a really strong audio description season, culminating in this final episode, which I knew was coming. And after episode 7 focused pretty much on this like one battle, I was like, man, episode 8 has a lot of ground to cover. And it does all of it rather impressively for a series that has been kind of like meh, kind of like, I don't know. Like, is it good? I don't know. I think it's fine. The internet is all over the place with Rings of Power. The show has fans, and the show has people who I think are burning down homes as a reaction. I don't know. It's really hard to tell. Like, I have people who comment, and they're like, I hate this show. Fuck this. But I think it's all valid. Like, I can see the angles because it depends on where you come from. They've admitted that this is a little fan fiction-y, that they're trailing a little bit from Tolkien, from the source material. So if you're hardcore into source material, then I could see maybe why Rings of Power doesn't work for you. Budgetary wise, I know that's running a little thin. Which is amazing because this is like one of the most expensive shows ever. But everything that I've heard is like you can't necessarily tell that from looking at the show. So, the production value, while they have the money to do it, for some reason doesn't look like it doesn't translate fully into what it is. So I've heard the complaints. So for the final episode, we have a couple decent sized deaths, and we have some interesting scenes. We get to spend a lot of time with my boy Durin, he's the wind beneath my wings. Durin! He's the reason I'm going to come back for more. Like, I'm going to be like, season 3, is Durin here? Yes, no, maybe? Yeah, I was a little afraid. I was like, oh, I don't know. I heard there are some big deaths. I mean, if you watched my episode 7 recap, there was a guy that died, and I was like, I think he was a big death, but I didn't remember his name. And even when he died, I was like, I don't even really conceptually know who that is. I think this cast needs less people anyway, so that so that we can appropriately remember who everybody is. They have people who float in and out. Like, for example, okay, so the Durin thing is, he's down there and his dad is trying to break through a wall. He's got the ring on. and he's like ramming this wall, and Durin's like, put the ring down. I'm doing my best Durin here. Put the ring down, father. Don't make or take the hand. And his dad turns around and, you would take him. Are you strong enough to take the hand? No, father, I'm not. But the father that I knew was strong enough to take the ring off. Hey, we used to have arm wrestling, and you would let me take my hand up just a little bit to make me think that I was strong, and then before slamming it back down. It's a great exchange. It's very emotional. I'm doing a terrible job of doing it. And they have this back and forth. It's very father and son. And eventually, Durin's father gets through the wall, and the Balrog is there. Surprise. So Durin's father is sort of like, whoops. He says some like sort of like final like, I never let you win, you know. You were just getting stronger every day. So Durin is like, oh my God. It's really emotional. And everyone cried. We all cried. I don't know. You weren't there. So everybody who's watching Rings of Power, we all cried. It was all very sad. We're all thinking about, you know, and the cat's in the cradle and the silver spoon, little boy blue and the man in the moon. That's where they should have broken away. I love the score to this. Who's it? Is Bear McCready doing this? Anyway, the score here is great. Somebody's doing it. It's some like legitimate person is doing the score to Rings of Power, which is why it sounds really good. And I feel like Cat's Cradle should come in. Little boy blue and the man in the moon. He charges back in and to fight the Balrog. And when you're coming home, son, I don't know when. We'll get together then, boy. And so as we see the final moments of the king, we lose him to cats. To the cats in the cradle. So Durin goes back, and we have some hopping around. I'm just gonna wrap up Durin's storyline. He goes back with Disa, and yeah, it's sad because the father, I think, died fighting the Balrog, which means Durin now has the kingdom, or does he? As he finds out when he's like, well, what happened to my friend? And they're like, oh, well, that city that we were supposed to go help, well, it fell. But it seems like your friend, he fled north. Elrond he's somewhere else now. And he's like, oh, send a messenger to him and tell him that we will join the fight. And then Disa's like, you can't join the fight. We've got problems here at home. So Durin's like, oh shit, we do. My father just died, I forgot. Damn it, I'm the king now. No, you're not the king. Other people are laying claim. Apparently you were not appropriately next in line, and your brother also. I was like, wait a minute, he fucking what? He has a brother? From where? Like, where's this brother been this whole time? You know, is this like, are we gonna get into like some sort of like Game of Thrones shit with the dwarves, where they're all like fighting for the Iron Throne? Where this show does not need more characters. So I slapped the showrunners during this moment. They didn't know I did it, but they felt like, they were like, oh my God, did somebody, there was a whiff of air. I sent them a slap. It did. They felt it. It was just like air breathing through the room. I was like, this show does not need more characters. This show has enough characters. You are having a hard enough time balancing all of these fucking storylines. You don't need to introduce a shit ton of dwarves who all want to be king plus a brother next season. Be like, oh, welcome to the dwarf community and our 6 new cast members. Here are the names, all unintelligible. I hope you remember them all. Fuck you. So that's basically where we leave the dwarves. Is Durin is like, oh, that's right, I have a brother we haven't mentioned before. Shit. So, don't they have kids, by the way? Where are their kids? I feel like we did mention the fact that Durin has kids, because I sincerely remember his grandfather asking Disa about, like, how are the children? And she's like, oh, the children, they miss their grandfather. And it's like, who's looking after the kid? Anyway, so, okay, that's the dwarf storyline wrapped up. Meanwhile, in the Sea Witch Kingdom, I love that that's the name for her. So is it Ursula? Can we call her Ursula? Ursula the Sea Witch. So in Ursula's kingdom, I don't remember what her name is. It's something. After that trial, there's the guy who. This is sort of like how politics work, by the way. Is when somebody is clearly proven to be the winner, you find some sort of bullshit, and you're like, oh no, they didn't win legitimately. They won because they're in league with Sauron. It's like, you have a document that you produced. It's sort of very tangentially reminded me of everything that's going on now. I was like, well, this is bullshit. So we watch, people are just like, they look at this document and they're like, oh yeah, Sauron's here, which must mean that, yep, I see your point. Obviously, Ursula, the Sea Witch, is working with Sauron, because why not? They are in league together. No proof of that, but except this document that somebody reads, and then they're like, from here on out, all the faithful shall be outcasts are removed, and there's like a scene of people being dragged out of their houses for being faithful, and so that this whole community of humans, I think, this shit is just not good for them. Kill it with fire. And what leads our second follow-up scene is with Kevin. I'm going to keep calling him that. If you want to name somebody some dumbass shit like Kevin, which constantly sounds like Kevin, then that's what it's going to be. So Kevin goes into this other community where he meets the guy that we saw back in episode 3 get rescued by his horse. And he's like, oh, you're alive. And the guy with the horse is like, yeah, it's because this horse is kick-ass, man. I mean, you should see this fucking horse. This horse is great. And Kevin's like, oh, great to see you. Oh, who's this other dude? Oh, yeah. He's, his father used to be king. And I'm like, what? Yeah, now my father's king. What do you think of that? And now I'm taking over this whole place, and you're a low man. And if you don't bring me some trees, some shit's gonna get fucked up for you. So that guy's pissed off, and of course he's like, they're just trees. And I was like, yeah, Kevin. Yeah, like, we didn't see the whole scene with the speaking trees and the pledge to not chop them down anymore, and to not hurt them. You know, like, we didn't go through that already. So I'm just hoping that season 3, I'm rooting for the death of Kevin. That when we get to that point, I'm hoping that happens. I've disliked his character this whole time, and I'm just like, why do we keep focusing on this dude? So, but he's not even a great villain. He's just an annoying villain. Like, he's not even. It's like, this fucking guy. He's one of those guys where you, like, they come in the room and you're like, oh god, this guy. yeah, what do you want, man? You know? Like, um, and we cut to the stranger is in this episode with Tom Bombadil, but we find out that he did not go. He took Tom's advice and he stayed and he learned wizardry. And while learning wizardry, they sing the song of Tom Bombadil, but they have a drop, which uh, I'm sure at least one person who's like hate watching Rings of Power punched into their TV and broke it. I'm sure, like there's that YouTube video of the guy who gets screamered on his computer. He punches his. I always love that. That's always fun for me. And he punches his computer. Anyway, I kind of imagine that happened when this happened, but my reference at the top was when the stranger goes, they'll call me Gandalf, won't they? I was like, oh God, oh man, the people who hate Rings of Power. That's what a weird way to put that in there. Like, I can see the future. In the future, my name is Gandalf. Weird. And there's a boy named just start telling Lord of the Rings. um so yeah, that was dumb. It was just handled in the weirdest way possible. Like, I don't think conceptually the fact that the stranger ends up being Gandalf is the weirdest thing, but I love that he just like just sort of like it reads the tea leaves. He's like, oh, in the future I'm Harry Potter. I didn't know that. In the future I'll be played by Ian McKellen. Who is this Ian McKellen? So, meanwhile, the hobbits that he did not go save have an encounter with the Dark Wizard, who's like, you know what? It's all good, yo. I'm not really the Dark Wizard. That's not really my thing. I hate that. That's racist. That's just like, let's just not do that. Like, I didn't call myself Dark Wizard. It's not like my name. I have a name. I'm not gonna tell you what my name is, but you can surmise on it. Because meanwhile, we got this other guy dropping names over there like he's Gandalf and shit. So I can't tell you my name because we have to have an air of suspense for season 3. Who's the Dark Wizard? Is it Saruman? I don't know. Maybe could be somebody else. So the Dark Wizard's coming in and trying to be like, well, I'm not a bad guy. I am going to try to kill everybody here, though. So, but that had nothing to do with me being their Dark Wizard. It's just like, yeah, just kind of what I do. But anyway, I do have a name, though. It'd be great if you guys could learn it. I'm not going to tell you what it is. I'm just going to leave. Try to kill you guys and then leave. So he does this thing where the community of, I guess they're hobbits of the desert. I don't know what to call them anymore. I don't even know conceptually. I'm sure that it made more sense, but my only squabble that I really had with audio description all season was relativity in terms of, because when Nuri and her friend stumble upon these people, I was like, are they the same? How are they different? Are they taller? Are they shorter? Are they fatter? Do they have spikes? Like, what is it about this to make these a different people that make them not hobbits? I felt like that question was never answered in the audio description when they were in it. So I don't conceptually understand what this is. So, but Nuri, her friend, and at least one of the main desert people live So that wraps up that for the season. And we also see Galadriel. She tries to go reason with, she's like, I've got the 7 rings. And meanwhile, Sauron is over there driving arrows into uh, his old friend, who eventually he kills the Ringmaker, whose name escapes me, but he's dead now, so whatever. At that point, I feel like people are gonna be like, "You don't remember his name?" I was like, "Yeah, like I said, the show has too many characters, so every time some of them die, I'm just like, yes." As long as it's not Duran at this point, I'm just like, and probably his wife. Like, I think his wife is pretty cool too. The two of them, we'll keep them around. Anybody else, when Galadriel falls off the cliff, I was like, yes, I'm here for it. Change the lore. I was like, kill her off. Piss off the fans. Reduce the characters. Let's do it. I'm all about this. So, but we do lose. Father Orc is killed by his children, who Sauron is now controlling the orcs, who he obviously does not like the orcs nearly as much, which is exactly what he was warning them of, is that Sauron was not their friend. Because later on, he just straight up kills one of the orcs for really no reason whatsoever, just to kill an orc. Just like, I'm angry. Where's an orc? I need to kill one. Just kills an orc. So yeah, Sauron has a kind of an epic fight with Galadriel, who gets some good blows in. And what I didn't understand was, why doesn't he just use all that magic? Like, he was like full on controlling people, like before. What, like, he had his powers were so strong that he was able to like stop people from moving, and able to turn them around and then cause other people to like stab. Meanwhile, he has to like actually fight Galadriel with a sword. Like, why? Like, how do your powers work? Anyway, but it leads to Galadriel having some great fight stuff, and the eventual line where she calls Sauron, because he thinks he's like, I'm, sort of like the I'm inevitable moment. I am Iron Man. It's a little bit like, it was a little bit like that, where she then drops and she's like, no, you are the Lord of the Rings. And I'm like, oh shit, they just used the title. Damn. So yeah, she falls off a cliff to keep him from getting the rings, and the elves bring her back to life, presumably using water and moonlight, like they did in Agadal. No, it's a little bit more than that. It's a little bit more complicated, but using the ring and elven power, they bring Galadriel back to life after she's nosedives off a cliff. Which was really disappointing, because I was like, man, if we had just let one more character go. So we lost 3 main characters. We lost a bunch of people in, like, of the desert hobbits. I know they're called something. But yeah, they suffered, their community suffered a blow. As did the faithful. They suffered a blow. A lot of random people died in that. So, but those were just, I felt like, random people, not a whole lot of people that were pointed out. We did lose our Ringmaker. We lost Orc Father and Dwarf Father. King Dwarf were the characters. So, major deaths. I feel like Galadriel, if they had stuck with that and been like, whoa, shit. First of all, game-changing, because it really breaks Lord of the Rings lore. And second, it was kind of epic. It was kind of like, over my dead body. will you get these fucking rings? So, kind of like ruined that moment where she's just like, oh, I'm fine now. Thanks. I'm back. What? You brought me back to life? Cool. Thanks. Thank you for that. I kind of knew that was going to happen when I nosedived, so I'm really happy that it did. Rings of Power. It's definitely going to get a third season. They're not spending all this money on the show. Plus, the thing about it that I've noticed is that Amazon has been touting the ratings. A lot of people are like, well, the ratings aren't good. And it's like, they wouldn't be putting out news stories about the ratings, like pushing and reminding people, like 52 million people or something like that, or have watched the Rings of Power. It's not super high, it's not like it seems like it could be higher, but they're claiming like 52 million people have watched the season 2 premiere, like since the beginning, since they started. So, those aren't bad numbers. They might be low for Lord of the Rings, but also it is Lord of the Rings, which, yes, it was a big movie franchise, but these things are sort of nerd culture, not necessarily reaching the widest audience possible. I don't know how many people are super excited for the Rings of Power. It doesn't have any stars, you know what I'm saying? Like, Rings of Power actually, Lord of the Rings actually had actors in it that people knew. This it doesn't really even have that. So I think it's going to get a third season. The actors also believe, they're like, everything that we've been led, everything we've heard is that we're heading towards a third season, that we're going to be shooting, So how long it'll take for that to happen, because they had a 2-season pickup. So it was easier, and it still took them 2 years to get the second season out. Even with the initial 2-season pickup. So they have to choose, will Amazon choose to renew it for 1 more season or 2? Because I have a feeling what they might do is do a 2-season order, because it might take them 3 years to get the next season out. So we may be in like a Stranger Things situation where it's going to take a lifetime for them to make the new season, but they want to kind of get their ball rolling. So I think they're going to commit to season 3 and 4. But it'll take 3 years before we see season 3. So, yeah. Anyway, that's it. That's my Rings of Power recap. Best thing about the show is the score. Second best thing is best thing is Durin. I think Durin top. I was gonna put Durin as number 2, and I'm like, I can't do that. Durin is the best thing. The second thing is the score. The third thing is that horse. That horse was amazing. I don't care what you say. Fuck off. That was the best damn horse. That horse was tearing off cobwebs. Like, there is no other horse in the world. That's the best horse ever. Like, I don't even like horses. Like, conceptually, I've never been like, I'd like to own a horse one day. That would be the horse. If I could have a horse, that would be the horse. I would want a horse that was smart enough to tear off cobwebs, to know that, oh, he's wrapped up. Let me get those cobwebs off of you. So those are the 3 best things about the series. Anyway, Durin, music, horse. Durin's wife, honorable mention. I'll give this episode an A-. Honestly, because I really just didn't think that they were going to be able to do all of this in one episode, but they actually somehow managed to coherently do it in a way where I was like, that wasn't terrible. And you didn't do an 1.5-hour final episode in order to do it either. It wasn't like supersized, where they're like, yeah, we have a lot to do, so this is going to be a long one. Strap in. So they didn't need to do that either. But anyway, thank you for watching and staying here with me the whole time. And I will see you guys in 3 years, probably, with this. No, I do other reviews and recaps, so please watch other shit that I do. But I hope you enjoyed this. I'll see you guys on the other side.